Good morning, buenos dias. Great to be here with everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here in this perch, this place where we can see our beautiful city. And so often we have a street level view, which unfortunately is usually or too often stopped, moving slowly as we move through a city that is continuously popular, but unfortunately for so many of us, the biggest challenge we face often is the traffic that we see. But we're here to celebrate an effort to continue to move Los Angeles forward. And we're so excited. Yeah, come on over. We got plenty of room. Anybody wants to join us, by the way, because so many people have brought this day to bear. But to help it, Los Angeles move forward and to make it easier to get around the City of Angels for years to come. I'm talking about a major upgrade of the system we affectionately know as ATSAC. It's not an insurance product. It is the Advanced Transportation System and Coordination. I've often referred to traffic as a thief that robs us of precious time with our families, with our loved ones, being able to determine our dating pool or figuring out what restaurants we can go to, the neighborhoods we can explore. But ATSAC, which is continuously looking at, measuring, and adjusting traffic signal timing, gives us hours and hours back by minimizing those traffic jams. From here, in the new ATSAC Control Center, it used to be, by the way, just underneath City Hall East here, in a windowless room that many of you, I'm sure, will not miss. But we can see what rush hour looks like this morning. Modernizing ATSAC has been a huge undertaking, one that I'm very proud that we have moved forward over a number of years, led, of course, by our Department of Transportation, but also assisted with so many other of our departments and agencies. So let me thank a few folks. One is the chair of our Transportation Committee and City Council, Mike Bonin, who is stuck in traffic but on his way here. From LADOT, our General Manager, Connie Llanos, our Assistant General Manager, Dan Mitchell, and also to George Chen and to Bill Shao, who head up ATSAC. And from our Bureau of Engineering, I want to thank Ohaji Abdallah, who is representing City Engineer Ted Allen, and our Deputy City Engineer Deborah Weintraub. Graham Harrison and Jerry Jimenez from the General Services Department's Construction Division, who built this out, and Javier Moreno from the Information Technology Agency's Communication Office. They represent teams of people who have made this day possible. And I also want to thank my transportation team too, Doug and Dan and everybody else who have made this happen. And our state partners, because we're in a state building, Caltrans District 7, the Department of General Services, the state architect, and our state fire marshal as well. We're also joined here today by a very important leader in our city, the woman who is tasked with delivering the best Olympic Games and Paralympic Games in the history of the world. Does that make you nervous? But we know you'll do it. When ATSAC was first rolled out nearly 40 years ago, its purpose was to control traffic signals for cars. I had it in my briefing. I think what was the number of signals we had initially? 118, thank you. And now it's over 4,500 or 4,800? 4,800. I don't want to take away your speeches, but so I'll let you be exact. But those 100 plus traffic signals, this was a revolutionary system. Not just for LA, not just for America, but for the world. It was cutting edge. It helped us with a global event. And if you can remember back in 1984, everybody said it's going to be the worst traffic ever, when in fact it was the opposite. I theorize that a good part of why 80% plus of Angelenos want to see the Olympics come back is they're like, I don't care if it's going to be in 6 years from now, as long as you can give me 2.5 weeks and then another 2 weeks with less traffic, I'll support the games. Because they remember in 1984 what happened. As we were worried our streets would grind to a halt with so many millions of visitors, the traffic in the summer of 1984 was actually better than usual thanks to this brand new ATSAC system. It was the most advanced signal system in the country at the time, but things have changed a lot since 1984. So we said it is time to make sure we stay on the cutting edge. I had it right here, from 118 to over 4,000. We haven't had a big overhaul really since 1994. And of course, it's not just cars now that are on our streets. It's signals for our ever-expanding light rail and subway system, our buses, our bikes, our pedestrians, our scooters, our skateboarders, and so much more. So there's no question it was time to expand ATSAC, to move the control center from a converted bomb shelter underneath City Hall East to this beautiful space. and to bring all the technology and innovation in our city together in keeping our cities moving for all users. After all, we're building and expanding 15 rapid transit lines, the most in the history of the United States at a single time, thanks to Measure M, the nation's largest ever transportation infrastructure package. I also want to say, because people usually don't connect these things when we talk about transportation, the passage not only of HHH, but now of ULA, United to House Los Angeles, up to $1 billion a year, will allow us also to build housing near transportation, which is one of the best ways to reduce traffic in the first place. And of course, we're planning on throwing the best 2028 Olympic Games, the best Olympic Games this world has ever seen, and our first Paralympic Games here in Los Angeles. So thanks to the hard work of everybody who is here today. When visitors come here in 2028 and when residents stay here in 2028, they will see a city continuing to move forward. So with that, let me introduce the general manager of our great Department of Transportation. I've worked side by side with her in my office, seen her in other roles, and now as our general manager here at Department of Transportation. Please welcome Connie Llanos.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. It is such an exciting day for DOT to actually be able to welcome all of you to our new ATSAC space. Really, truly a labor of love here, 10 years in the making. So, you know, ATSAC is often lovingly referred to as the seventh wonder of the transportation world. The system, as our mayor mentioned, launched in 1984 to help us manage the flow of goods and people for that historic Olympic Games. Then it controlled 118 signals. Today it manages 4,850, and it has evolved to continue to manage our ever-growing, ever-complex transportation system. We now have 1,500 intersections where we are controlling transit priority, 1,300 signals where we are controlling pedestrian priority, and a growing number of our bike signals as well. The opening of this new center continues the tradition for the Department of Transportation to be on the cutting edge of transportation technology. And I'm not a fan of acronyms usually, because then you have to define them and not everyone understands them. But ATSAC is one we can stand behind. We love it. But today, we also are unveiling a new expanded definition for ATSAC that actually reflects the expanded functionality. So we welcome you to the Advanced Transportation System and Coordination Center, and Advanced Transportation System and Coordination, new name for ATSAC. So this is the first major expansion that ATSAC has seen since 1994. And most importantly, as the mayor mentioned, it's a tremendous upgrade for the individuals that you see here today who actually run this system for us. It's going to ensure that all of our traffic engineers can better coordinate with our electricians, our traffic officers, our transit operators, both our LADOT transit operators, but our regional transportation transit operators as well, and emergency responders. The advanced video wall that you see behind you, increased number of remote control sites, those are going to allow greater flexibility in the case of an emergency. And the space itself, larger, will also help us better house the types of multidisciplinary coordination that is necessary when we have major events in the city. It will not only help us, again, manage the flow of goods and people much more efficiently, but it's also going to help us give you back some time with reduced travel times. It's going to help us cut our GHG emissions, and it's going to help make our streets safer. The new state-of-the-art center is also helping us to prepare for the continued evolution of transportation services in Los Angeles as we look to a future that includes not only the scooters, as our mayor mentioned, but also automated vehicles and advanced air mobility. This center is going to help us stay on the cutting edge of that transportation innovation. And it couldn't come at a better time as we are all eagerly awaiting the 2028 Olympic Games and wanting to deliver for Los Angeles the best games possible. So really excited about the partnership, the ongoing partnership that we have with our LA28 colleagues, and the ways in which we'll work together to make that happen. The mayor did a wonderful job of thanking folks, but I do want to just take another moment here to thank the people that made, again, this project happen. 10 years in the making. The mayor didn't thank himself, but we should thank Mayor Garcetti. He really has challenged throughout his tenure departments to think bold, to stay creative, and to not be afraid of technology, but actually to embrace it as a catalytic opportunity to create some necessary change for our city. Without his support and his leadership, this project would absolutely not be possible. Unfortunately, we don't have Councilmember Mike Bonin here, but we do have his staff, Eric Bruins. Councilmember Mike Bonin has been the chair of Transportation Committee for almost the entirety of his tenure on the council. He's been an incredible ally and supporter of the Department of Transportation, and both an advocate and an ally in our efforts to make sure that DOT is the leading cutting-edge transportation department in the country. So we thank him for all of his support. Our partners at Bureau of Engineering, thank you so much, Haji Abdallah, for your incredible consultation throughout this project. General Services as well, Foreman Graham Harrison, who I'm not sure if he's here today, but we're so thankful. The state, and especially Crystal Benjasing and Mikkel Alam, who really supported us throughout this expansion. And I cannot skip without giving another shout out to all of our LADOT staff, starting again with our Assistant General Manager over Project Delivery, our Chief Engineer, and probably one of my top partners in crime when it comes to working on transportation in Los Angeles, Dan Mitchell, the ATSAC team, George Chen, also Bill Shao, Jonathan Hui, Zach Bose, Canyon Trainer, and every single one of you here. I wish we had a larger crowd to give you a round of applause for all of the years you spent in that underground space. Now you got the best space in the house. Ha! Take that. So thank you, and thank you for your service. You all really do keep the city running. We say that a lot, but you literally do. So thank you very much for all you do. And last but not least, I did want to give a special shout out to my predecessor and an incredible mentor for me, our former general manager, Salita Reynolds. Over her tenure of 8 years, she shepherded this project through, and we literally would not be here without her as well. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Connie, and thank you for mentioning Salita, too, who has really, I know, championed this as well. I got the text from council member that he had drop-off, as I had for my daughter, he had for his son today and won't be able to make it. But I do want to reiterate, just we wouldn't be here without him and without the team. So thank you as well. Next, I'd like to ask Kathy Carter to come forward. As I mentioned, she's the CEO of LA 28. It's one of the best titles, not just in Los Angeles, but maybe in the world right now. An Olympics and Paralympics that had more time to plan, to prepare, and to really leave a lasting legacy, because 2.5 weeks is 2.5 weeks, plus another 2 weeks for the Paralympics. But what we have left behind when it came to 1984, we benefited from the next 4 decades almost. And I know that 2028 will deliver something that for the next half century after that will have a marked improvement on the quality of life for Angelenos, and we're so excited that she's here to join us. Kathy Carter.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti, and thank you for such continued support. And we wouldn't be here, actually, if it weren't for Mayor Garcetti and his vision for hosting, for the 3rd time, the Olympic Games, and for the 1st time, the Paralympic Games. And so, as they say, pressure is a privilege. And so I actually throw that back to my new friend, General Manager Janos, because let's be honest, the pressure really is on continuing to expand upon what we see here. We are yet just at the beginning stages of our planning for how and what we'll do to move people around Los Angeles, and our incredible partnership, not just with the LA Department of Transportation, but also Metro and Caltrans, is really the backbone of what will make our games, we think, incredibly successful. You know, we like to say that LA is a community that is actually purpose-built for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And in fact, nothing actually showcases that better than what we've already experienced. Whether that was in 1932, which we don't talk as much about because I think the legacy is perhaps from '84 a bit more forefront as we stand here today. And certainly something we think about as we head towards 28. But least we not forget that just this past January, we actually hosted the Super Bowl. followed then in July by the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. And while my team didn't put it here, we also in the same day hosted MLS Cup and Homecoming at USC at Exposition Park, a first-time feat that in 1 week we all came together to figure out how we actually moved 18,000 people without parking for that MLS Cup game, and a real credit to the partnership from a transportation perspective that everybody was able to come together on. We believe very strongly that that is really the start that will only further be implemented then, whether it's for the college football playoffs or for the World Cup in 2026. We are then just the culmination of the effort that this collective will come together and continue to put in place that we believe will not only help support moving athletes and our community members around, but continue to make sure that everybody can move freely around Los Angeles during the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And that's something that we're very much focused on, whether that's working through the Memorial Coliseum, Crypto.com, at LA Live. You know, we have all the facilities, and so it's incumbent upon us to continue to work together with all of the various parties to make sure that we continue to increase the impact on community and how, in fact, the LA 28 Games will leave a lasting legacy just like we did in 1984. So working very closely with our partners both at LADOT, Metro, Caltrans, we're building a plan that will continue to keep LA moving. That will make sure that fans, spectators, athletes, and the community remember these games as fondly as they do from 1984. So priority is that. We often say that that's what keeps us up at night, but it's also the piece I rest more comfortably as we see this great ATSAC facility that now and the great people who are going to help us move people around LA. Our confidence is high. We think the impact on LA, because of how we are purpose-built to host these games, is second to no one in the world. So nothing shines brighter than the sunshine here in LA, and we'll prove that come 2028 as we bring the world to celebrate how great LA is. It's that innovation and that creativity that will make these games incredibly successful. Today is just the first of many milestones. We hope you hear from our collective partnership about how and what we will do to continue to increase the impact on the community and make it better for all of the people that live here, as well as those that come to celebrate with us in 2028. Congratulations to everybody at the Los Angeles Department of Transportation. We are so grateful for the support in this journey. We can't wait to continue to dig in with Metro, with Caltrans, and with all of you as we continue locally, state-wise, federally-wise, to keep LA moving and to make sure that we host the greatest games that the world has ever seen come 2028. A special shout out to my team who is here, who actually, with all due respect to me standing up in front of the microphones, are really the ones who make the magic happen. So credit to them along with all of you. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you along the journey, and certainly as we host the world in 2028. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the recent announcement of Chris Thompson, who has been the Chief Government Officer, I think that's the title, if I get that right, at LA 28, to be the Chief of Staff of our incoming mayor, really solidifies that partnership, and we're very excited. So, does anybody need Spanish at all? Español también? You want to do anything? You can come forward. All right. And then we'll answer questions. And by the way, Kathy can answer any questions about the World Cup because she's a soccer expert. So if you want to know, if you want to double dip on stories today. Muy buenos días a todos. Y hoy celebramos una importante mejora al sistema que mantiene el tráfico de Los Ángeles en movimiento, ATSAC. ATSAC minimiza la congestión de tráfico, y no solo para los autos, sino también para los trenes, autobuses, bicicletas y peatones también. Y cuando el mundo visite a Los Ángeles para los Juegos Olímpicos y Paralímpicos en el 2028, van a encontrar una ciudad bella, diversa, próspera y sin tráfico. Este fue el legado de los Juegos Olímpicos de 84. Y es nuestro sueño, finalmente, a mejorar este sistema. Este es un modelo, no solamente en Los Ángeles y en los Estados Unidos, pero por el mundo. Y hace 4 décadas, este sistema es el modelo para mejorar el movimiento de tráfico en Los Ángeles. Pero ahora, en esta nueva locación y con esta gente, este equipo, finalmente tenemos un legado por los Juegos Olímpicos de 28, pero el legado empieza hoy. With that, I'll toss it over to Canianas to maybe say a word in Spanish too.
A ver cómo nos va sin notas. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros hoy. Hoy abrimos oficialmente las puertas del nuevo centro para ATSAC, que es el sistema que nos permite poder controlar todo el tráfico que pasa por la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Este sistema que comenzó en el 84, en ese entonces solo teníamos 118 luces que estábamos controlando en la ciudad. Ahora manejamos más de 4,850. 1,500 de esas luces son para manejar la prioridad de los buses, para que las personas que andan en el transporte público puedan moverse más eficientemente. 1,300 para los peatones cuando están cruzando la calle, que tengan prioridad. Y también estamos incrementando el número de señales que vamos a tener para las bicicletas, como las señales que tenemos aquí en Downtown. Para nosotros es muy emocionante porque realmente es la completación de un proyecto que lleva más de 10 años, que ha necesitado la ayuda de muchas personas, no solo en el Departamento de Transportación de la Ciudad de Los Ángeles, pero también con nuestros colegas en el Departamento de Ingeniería, en el Departamento de Servicios Generales, con el Estado. Pero lo más especial y lo más importante es que también nos permite realmente seguir con la innovación que tenemos aquí en Los Ángeles y nos ayuda a preparar para todos los diferentes maneras que las personas van a moverse para los Olimpiados del 2028. So, muchísimas gracias y gracias por estar aquí con nosotros.
Good job. See? Pays to hire the right people. Any questions from anybody? Yes, please.
Can you give a concrete example of how this system would actually help in a high traffic situation?
Sure, absolutely. Why don't I have one traffic engineer? You want to talk about how, or Dan, either one? Okay. Why don't you give us some detail?
So the traffic signals throughout the city are connected through wires and fiber optics to the traffic control center, and it's processing data about vehicles arriving and people arriving in all different directions, and it optimizes the traffic signal timing to help manage smooth traffic and also to balance the needs in different directions. So a concrete example would be there's maybe a problem on the freeway and a whole bunch of people are getting off in a way that they wouldn't normally. The system can recognize that and adjust the signal timing. Another is a bus is arriving and it's running late. The system can recognize that and either provide an early green to help the bus catch up or extend the green so that it can keep it on a little bit longer to help it get through the light.
Are there any particular parts of the city that you're more concerned with in terms of like high traffic when the Olympics touch down?
Well, certainly, around the Olympic venues, and then, there are going to be mobility hubs where people are going to be arriving to be transported to the events, and those areas are going to be high traffic areas as well that we'll be keeping an eye on.
And can Connie speak to the importance of traffic control, or Kathy speak to this for the success of being the most successful Olympics in world history?
Sure. Happy to take it. No problem. So just to repeat the question, how we...
like the importance of having good traffic flow during the Olympics?
Without question. I mean, ingress and egress become your first impression and last impression. And so how and what we do to make seamless ability for people to get to and from venues, for the athletes to arrive on time, become critical parts of the delivery of the games. And certainly the partnership that we have with all the municipal agencies will become critically important. But I stress that this and what we see here today is just the first of many things that will occur on our journey to 28. To make sure that that is an experience, but our intention, as was mentioned about mobility hubs, is to make it so that people won't be driving to the venues; they'll be driving to these mobility hubs, and then we will be either using public transportation or shuttle bus systems, a games network, to bring people to the facilities. And so there will be education that will occur with that. But we saw that again in the Super Bowl this past February, where we had a similar type of program. So we'll be ready. We'll make sure that athletes arrive on time and fans have a seamless experience.
have one last question, which is about moving this center from underground to above ground. Because my understanding of why it was in that former bomb shelter is just in case there was an earthquake in the city or something like that. So can you just talk about moving it above ground?
Now, this is one of the most resilient buildings that we have. It's been built since. It's at some of the best cutting edge. We could have something there still, and it would be obviously another level of resilience. But we felt comfortable in making that decision here, that it was important, first of all, for the folks who work 24/7, that once in a whatever 1,000 days, 10,000 days potential, they're here the rest of those days, and we wanted to make sure they had a good working environment, but also a place where they could see the city and be part of the city. Second, we felt that this was a resilient building and that could withstand that. Obviously, that was built actually for nuclear war. Not that there isn't a threat of nuclear war in the world, but we thought that that was planned less for just earthquakes than actually as a bomb shelter. And this would be a better environment and a more connected environment with the colleagues who will actually be managing this. That's isolated from the rest of our department and of our colleagues in the state and other partners as well. One other thing to your first question, too, is we can proactively use this, as we did during the pandemic, to slow traffic down when it's moving too fast. So it's also for public safety. And part of Vision Zero and trying to reduce the number of deaths that we have and injuries that we have, we can actually see where people are speeding regularly and then change the timing of traffic lights to stop cars from ever accelerating and being able to get to some of those deadly speeds that we've seen too many places in the city, too. Okay. Any questions? All right. We're going to cut a ribbon. All right. All right. 1, 2, 3. Yay!